What's up, guys? My name is Jerry, and today we're going to be talking about how the MVP race shouldn't even be close right now. And we're going to jump right into the video. And looking at the NBA this season, there's been a handful of guys that deserve MVP considerations. Guys like Giannis Antetokounmpo, who I feel like as long as he's in his prime, he's always going to be in MVP considerations. He's just that good. You look at what Ja Morant is doing for the Memphis Grizzlies this year, and he's under the age of 25, which makes it even more impressive. We look at DeMar DeRozan, what he's been able to do for the Chicago Bulls this season, lifting them back up to playoff contention, and then what he's done for himself as a basketball player has been spectacular. And then looking at the Joel Embiid, the process, he's having a very great season, one of the most unstoppable players in the NBA, and then he gets it done on both sides of the court. But with all that being said, those four guys, none of those guys are playing better than Nikola Jokic, aka the Joker. And I feel like what sets the Joker apart from those other guys is when you look at the MVP award and what it takes to win. I think it's three boxes that you have to check off. The first box is the narrative. You have to have a good story behind your MVP case, and then also your team has to be winning. I feel like you have to be a top 5, top 6 team in your conference to get the award. And then also you have to have eye-popping stats. And I feel like Nikola Jokic, he checks off all three boxes, which is really impressive. And then if you look at the narrative for Nikola Jokic this season, I'm pretty sure everybody knows where I'm going with this, but he's playing without the next two best players on his team. And not only are they the next two best players on his team, but they're the next two scoring options on the team as well. And that's Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray. And Jamal Murray, he's been out since last season. We haven't seen him at all this season. And then Michael Porter Jr. only played 9 games this season. So it's just really been Nikola Jokic for the Denver Nuggets this year. And don't get me wrong, they have some very solid role players around the Joker, but that's really all their ceiling is. You know, Aaron Gordon, he's a pretty solid player, but his ceiling, he will never be an all-star. His ceiling is just a very good role player. Same thing with guys like Will Barton and Jeff Green. Those guys are just really good role players. There's no other star potential on this team unless you look at a rookie like Bones Highland, who, you know, he might be a star in this league one day, but you know, he's a rookie right now. So Nikola Jokic, that's what makes this really impressive, that teams know every night that there's not going to be no Jamal Murray and no Michael Porter Jr. All we have to do is game plan from the Joker. And with all that being said, the big man, he still goes out there every night and he gets it done. So they check off the narrative. He checks off the narrative box. And then when you look at things when it comes to winning, the Denver Nuggets are 38-26 in the Western Conference. And before you say something, well, the Denver Nuggets, that's kind of low. They're 6th in the Western Conference. But when you look at a team like the Milwaukee Bucks and the Philadelphia 76ers, those guys are higher in the seedings in the Eastern Conference. But the Bucks, I believe, have 2 more wins than the Denver Nuggets, and the Philadelphia 76ers only have 1 more win than the Denver Nuggets. So we have to take that into consideration, that the Nikola Jokic, he's winning just as many games as Joel Embiid and Giannis Antetokounmpo. And not only that, but the Denver Nuggets, they're only a game and a half out of 4th place. They're right behind the Utah Jazz. So, and the Denver Nuggets, they've been rolling lately. Nikola Jokic, he's on fire, and I feel like they can win some games and get into that fourth spot. And I feel like if he does that, and then if the Denver Nuggets get a top 4 seed, then Nikola Jokic, that MVP award is locked in his back pocket. So he checks off the winning box for me. And then the last box we talked about was the stats, eye-popping stats. And Nikola Jokic is probably the biggest stat machine in the NBA right now. Looking at his season averages, he's averaging somewhere around 25 points, 11 or 12 rebounds per game, and then 8 assists. And not only are those stats insane, but he's doing it efficiently. He's shooting 56% from the field, which is crazy. And then he's shooting 36% from the 3-point line. Then he knocks down his free throws. And not only has He's been great statistical this season, but he's also been very historic. He's become the first player in NBA history to score 30 points in overtime in a fourth quarter while shooting 90% from the field, and that's pretty crazy. I know you guys saw that really great game he had against the New Orleans Pelicans when he brought those guys back and won in overtime. They just didn't have an answer for him. And then also he's catching Wilt Chamberlain on the all-time center triple-double list. Wilt Chamberlain has 78, and right now Nikola Jokic, he has 73 of them. So 78 to 73, he only needs 6 more to break that record. So anytime you're in the same conversation as Wilt Chamberlain, when it comes to breaking a record, you're doing something right. So Nikola Jokic, like I said, he's just having a very insane season. And what separates him, like I said, another thing that separates him from the rest of those guys is that Nikola Jokic is a guy that has a counter to everything that you're gonna do. If you double team him, he's too good of a passer. He sees the play opening up before the double team even happens. And then if you try to play him one-on-one, he's too big, he's too strong. He's not athletic at all, but he's just a guy that knows how to use all 260, all 270 of his pounds. And then, you get the ball out of his hands. He set the screen. He can pop. He can flare off of a pick and shoot the three. He's just a guy that has, it's just a guy that has a counter to everything that you can do. And then, and if we look at the cases for the other players, I feel like they don't check off, all three of the boxes, or they have something that kind of hurts their case. You look at Giannis Antetokounmpo, he's had help all season long. He's had Drew Holiday, and he's had Chris Middleton. And then you look at DeMar DeRozan, the Chicago Bulls. They haven't been able to get it done against the top teams in the NBA. Against the top teams in the league, the Chicago Bulls are 0-14, and I feel like that's going to hurt DeMar DeRozan case. And don't get me wrong, he's still having a very spectacular season. He's having a historical season in his own way as well. And then you look at Ja Morant. When Ja Morant doesn't play, or that time when he hurt his knee and he was out, his team went on a winning streak. And that's when we kind of realized that the Memphis Grizzlies have something special, and then they have a good record when Ja Morant doesn't play. And then when you look at Joel Embiid, Nikola Jokic hasn't had the type of help that he's had all season long. Having a guy like Tyrese Maxey, who's the sky's the limit for him, Tobias Harris, who's a max contract player, and then now he has James Harden alongside him. So I feel like with all those things being considered, Nikola Jokic, it just makes what he's doing with the little help that he has very, very impressive. And if Nikola Jokic doesn't have it going on the night, then the Denver Nuggets, they don't stand a chance. So that's why I feel like Nikola Jokic is the clear-cut MVP favorite, and I think he should win back-to-back MVP honors. But I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people that's going to agree with me, and I can't wait to hear why people disagree with me. So let me know down in the comments who you think the MVP should be this season. If you enjoy, leave a like, and then subscribe for more weekly content. We do this all the time, man, and that's curtains.